Welcome back, everyone. Today is a very special day. And of course, we've come to the last and final, well, perhaps the final. Well, I think this is the final. Michael's been talking about this for months. And we've been, listening to Michael and taking in everything he has to say about the subject of the death of Bruce Lee. And of course, it's a gargantuan amount of information, Michael. So we're just really, really interested to hear how this is going to conclude today. So welcome, Michael.
Hi, Brett. Hi, dear listeners. I think this is the final because I don't want to go into this anymore. It's just so negative and all evil and all liars everywhere. And there is only one possible solution yet to see that they're all lying. So what's it about? What's it about? Bruce Lee. Let's give it this. This is really the final. I don't care how long it takes. This is the final. So actors, directors, politicians, everybody is lying. Everybody who's not in a Christian spirit is lying. Liar, liar, pants on fire. In the history of Hollywood movie and Hollywood film industry, the first movies are made by a Jesuit. But they're putting out Jewish Freemasons as a distraction so that people do not think that there is something religious behind it, but people only in power want to have fame and money and all the stuff. Yeah. So Hollywood is being chosen because its location is on the 33-degree parallel, which is the same case as in Dallas and the same case as in Babylon, and many other things too. The name Hollywood is chosen because Aryan Druze use magic wands from the Holly tree and a planet sacred to Saturn as Hollywood. If that is correct, nobody knows. So, given the information that Warner Brothers financed his last and final movie, it means that there is absolutely 100% ties to Freemasonry. But that does not prove anything of the death, and I won't prove his death. There are other things. My concern is the agenda, that we really see that it makes no sense to go into this and to get, because it's all a big plan. It's all an anti-biblical script which is running. Okay. It's like in the case of the Kennedy ritual. It's like in the case of the moon ritual. It's like in the case of the 9/11 ritual. It's like in the case of the COVID ritual. It's like in the case everywhere. These are all just no coincidences. Yeah. United Artists, for example, is backed by Transamerica Corporation, founded by Knight of Malta, Gianni, Bank of America. They produced the movies of the Beatles and the first James Bond movies. Knights of Malta producing James Bond movies. No wonder, as James Bond is the English equivalent to the CIA, which is run by Knights of Malta. Look at Bruce Lee's father, please. He was a famous Chinese Cantonese opera singer and film actor. Do you think he could have been staged at San Francisco just so? He was also the father of Robert Lee, the founder and lead singer of a popular band called the Thunderbirds. And I said, interesting. So he has also some brothers and sisters. But let's get back here to the father of Bruce Lee. Do you really think that he's not connected to any secret society when he's a famous Chinese opera star? Do you really think that it's just the ordinary family out of the blue, from a dishwasher to a millionaire, when his mother is coming from a clan comparable to the Rockefellers? My. He was a professional, so he had been ties to maybe organized crime. He was an opium addict, and also to American cinemas. And Bruce Lee starred in one film when he was at the age of 3 months. Come on. My. Grace would name Bruce Lee the meaning return again, June Fan, because she felt he would come back to live in America someday. At home, he was called Siphon, meaning small phoenix, and it must all be a coincidence that he was just running over the shoes of Esther Eng at the age of 3 months when they were doing that movie Golden Gate. Sure. Okay, so then let's get it on. If you really think that everything is a coincidence, I can't help you. Golden Gate Bridge is 33 golden because it is an orange color and it is not golden, as you can see. It's not a golden gate, it's just a golden gate of superstition. And there is much more to San Francisco. You see Twin Peaks. Oh, what a coincidence, huh? Oh, there was somebody. Yeah. So born in San Francisco and raised in Hong Kong, Bruce Lee was introduced to the Hong Kong film industry as a child by his father. And then he worked as a waiter in a restaurant, and so all the stuff goes. And out of a sudden, we read the following. Lee's elder brother Peter Lee joined him in Seattle for a short stay before moving on to Minnesota to attend college. And I said, yeah, why must it be Minnesota? Because every time when the Phoenix stuff comes up, it's been said that it has something to do to distract the ghosts, that they did not kill him. So William Chung, for example, says here, yeah, that Bruce, his elder brother died as a baby, so they thought the devils could take him too. Yeah, the problem is that I don't believe anybody, so I don't have to believe that they lost a child. Maybe they lost a child, maybe something else happened, I do not know. But with superstitious people, you can do everything. But why do I have to believe William Chung? Because William Chung also claims the story of the trials hunting John Bruce at the age of 18, so he did have to leave Hong Kong, which is, in my humble opinion, a total fabrication. So why do I have to believe all these people? I do not believe anybody. I only believe my common sense and all the symbols they are using. So they gave Bruce a female name like Little Phoenix. Yeah, for that purpose. Okay, you have to believe it, but I don't have to believe it, okay? And when he was a little bit older, a little bit more gray hairs like we, yeah, he is just repeating that. He has a female name like Little Phoenix or Little Dragon at the time. Yeah, we know that the Phoenix is the female counterpart. We have gone into a Chinese traditional tale last time. And he was a target for the trials. So everybody is talking about that Bruce Lee had been a target for the trials, therefore he had to left Hong Kong. I don't buy that. Yeah, and he was a bodyguard. Yeah, sure. The triad wanted to recruit him so he can attract more other little boys, and you have to believe it. Maybe Mr. William Chung, which I do not know personally, maybe he's a member of a triad too. What do I know? Yeah, so he looked after Bruce, sure, yeah. So the two of them, they were just having no problems with triads then, with two people, sure. And then Bruce has a new school, he knows Saint-François Xavier, and I used to pick him up. I'm his bodyguard. Yeah, the same bodyguard maybe that Bruce Baker was or was not. My. Very close friends, I was looking him after, la 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 la. So he's training Wing Chun at the age of 13, la 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 la. Yeah, all the stuff, that's not interesting me. What interests me is that he is then at the age of 22 circumcised at 1962 or 63 actually, because he was born in November 1940, so it makes 1963. Very astonishing, huh? Aha, so it has something to do with the Jewish belief or being part of something. I do not know, but maybe that's also incorrect, but where to start? Where to start? Start with symbols. Yeah, like in the case of Kennedy with this famous Lee Howard, not Lee Howard, what's one of his names? Lee Harvey Oswald. The Oswald, the Ward of Oz, the Wizard of Oz. 9 + 1 + 8 means 18, 666. You see all the stuff. And he's also got a scar in his on his skin. Brett, can you remind us where another actor has also a scar in his face?
Left eyebrow. But this one's above the left. Yeah, about the same area.
Yeah, but can you remember Enter the Dragon? Yeah, so you can see
Oh,
it.
gee.
So you can also see it as a mark of Cain. Can you remember that the Pope, which you mentioned last time, was saying, yeah, we all have the mark of Cain on our foreheads.
The forehead. Yeah,
on our foreheads,
right.
Yeah.
Well, is that the forehead or is that the eyebrow?
I would clearly say that it's not the eyebrow here. I would say it's the forehead, really.
Okay.
Maybe that's also artificial. We do not know. Yeah.
Well, okay.
Okay.
It's forehead. Close enough.
The mark of Cain is stamped on our foreheads. Yeah, that's a quote of John the 23rd. I think I have not mentioned that in the Kennedy sessions. And I'm not the best researcher. You see, there are better people out there who are doing this professionally. But I found that quite interesting. And can you remember that Bruce Lee had it on his chin? He had not on his forehead, but on his chin. Okay, let's get it on. You see, when everything is a ritual, then everything is a ritual. Because these people are not the ordinary people. And these people are just being controlled. And these people are just member of another community. In the case of John F. Kennedy, it was Knight of Columbus. And we know that is a Rosicrucian thing that we also have found out. We know that one of the things that Kennedy was not liked by the Vatican was just his attitude that he did not kiss the Pope's ring and all the stuff. Yeah, so that is clearly here the thing that lost him his presidency, so to speak. Yeah, so they are talking to you and they're just forging movies. But what if they have also made some other forging movies and moves? Yeah, because this can have also a religious meaning with 313 and have other meanings as well. Because this is a movie and all movies are belonging to Inter Mirifica, which we talked about last time, so for the Vatican. So then let's do it on. If everything is connected, meaning movies, actors, directors, agents, politics, and the alike. So let's start in 1964. The Gulf of Tonkin incident, which started officially the Vietnam War. It was a confrontation between the United States and Vietnam. Of course, that was BS, but they needed some cause to just kickstart it, because officially Kennedy would have his troops been withdrawn in 1964 or 1965 after he had been re-elected, which did not happen for obvious reasons. Okay, but look at this. There were a commander on the side of the US Army. His name is George S. Morrison, which is the father of Jim Morrison. Jim Morrison is the leader of the band called The Doors. The Doors have his name after Vintage Huxley, Aldous Huxley, The Doors of Perception. It is about the use of drugs. And this quote is not also his original, but this quote is coming from William Blake, The Marriage of Heaven and Hell, quote unquote, "If the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to man as it is infinite." And this, of course, would be the connection that has been drawn by Dave McGowan in the weird scenes inside the canyon. What I'm a little bit strange I find is that David McGowan left all out these Freemason ties and Bruce Lee. Could it have been something to do, I ask my colleague here, about his name? McGowan?
Good question. I've worked for clients that have the Mick in their name, and
just randomly,
yeah.
Okay, yeah. I'm just asking a question here, yeah. So the father, which was the commander in Vietnam, George Steve Morrison, was born in Rome, but not in Rome in Italy, but in Rome in Georgia, in the United States. He was a United States Navy Rear Admiral and naval aviator, and he was the commander of the United States Naval Forces during the Gulf of Tonkin incident of August, which started the Vietnam War. And that is a coincidence that the son is then out of a sudden a musician in Laurel Canyon. He was the father of Jim Morrison, the lead singer in the rock band Doors, who died on July the 3rd, 1971. Yes. Yeah, said father to son, "Trust me, Jim. You can't get the draft if you already work for the CIA. Because all the Laurel Canyon stuff, all the people who work there, live there, make music like the Beach Boys, Mamas and Papas, Monday, Monday, Baba. It's all a CIA project. And where else lived and who else lived in Laurel Canyon at that time? That was a man who was called Little Phoenix, or Never Sit Still, or what's his other name? Little Dragon. Bruce Lee. Nobody talks about Bruce Lee. Okay. Bruce Lee had to go to the Vietnam War as a United States citizen, but he could not do because of his poor health condition and of his descended testicle and flat feet and what else they're trying to do to tell you, but he could not serve in the United States military. How lucky Bruce Lee is. You see that later on he developed a strange, great physique, yeah, and he was very athletic, but he could not go to the United States military. US numbers. I wanted to know, when was the height of the Vietnam War? Look at this. US troop numbers peaked in 1968 with President Johnson. We know this was a Jesuit. He received 4 weeks before the Kennedy assassination. He received an award from the Jesuits, approving an increased maximum number of United States troops in Vietnam at 549,500. The year was the most expensive, etc. So we know that the height was in the end of the 60s. I think we can all agree on that. But the problem is that everything else in the music industry in Laurel Canyon also had this climax in the end of the 60s. So this Jim Morrison from The Doors, who has made some strange music, which is also related to Sharon Tate, he played the role of the god of alcohol, ecstasy, and trance. And he was like all of the Laurel Canyon rock stars of the 60s. He came from a military family. Oh, but the exception would be Bruce Lee, would it? Have you seen the picture of Bruce Lee's father in a military uniform? Must be a coincidence, and he's an actor. He's got so many dresses, you can't imagine. So, the Huxley family, who gave the name of the Doors of Perception, Aldous Huxley, they created the United Nations with the Cecil family, and of course in the background the Jesuits, who controlled also his agent called Aleister Crowley. Aldous Huxley died conveniently on the 22nd of November 1963, the exact day of the JFK ritual on the 33-degree parallel in Dallas. That must be a coincidence. Or maybe not. Jim Morrison called the Lizard King. Rosemary was raped by a reptilian entity in Rosemary's Baby. That must be a coincidence. Jim Morrison took his peep out during a show in 3-1 in 1969 in auditorium in Coconut, 33, Grove, Miami, Florida, state of oranges. Orange means 33, means sodomy, means fake outwitch march at Orange Bowl in Florida. Parsons lived in Orange Grove. RFK was shot at the Coconut Grove Ambassador Hotel, and they think that you don't see any relation in it. And let's go full steam ahead. He had a relationship with Patricia Kennelly, member of the Serenity Military Order of the Temple of Jerusalem. My. He had so much relationships. It was the free love century, virgin whore theme like Jackie Kennedy and Marilyn and all the stuff. And he ended officially in a bath tube in Paris. Where Lady Di would later die. Lady Di would later die. Oh, it looks like a poem. So what is Laurel Canyon about? Laurel means a laurel tree, an emblem of victory, of distinction. So an emblem of victory. Interesting. Laurel is part of the English common name of many trees with evergreen leaves, like Nimrod. So pagan religions are then worshipping laurels. Wreath and crowns in antiquity, including the laurel wreath, trace back to ancient Greece. In Greek mythology, the god Apollo, remember the moon landing, who is patron of lyrical poetry, musical performance, and skill-based athletics, and conveniently depicted wearing a laurel wreath on his head in all three roles. And it gets worse. In Rome, there were symbols of martial victory, crowning a successful commander during his triumph. Martial victory. Anybody Bruce Lee? Anybody martial arts? Must be a coincidence then. And the father of Jim Morrison was born in Rome in Georgia. Must all be a coincidence. And the number 11 for Freemasons being controlled by the Jesuits. Must be a coincidence. 11 murders to Tate Cooks. It must be a coincidence. It must be a weird code. And every number which pops up has something to do with 11 or 33. But it must be a coincidence. So look at his brothers of Bruce Lee. Peter Lee, Young Som. And I'm not going back from Laurel Canyon. We will soon piece the pieces of the puzzle, hopefully, together. The older brother, just by a small margin of a little bit more than 1 year, so they must have been very busy at home. Peter Lee is been born in Hong Kong and been died in Australia. Australia, by the way, is part of the Commonwealth. And he's got a PhD in LaSalle College and University of Minnesota and University of Hong Kong. Must be a very busy guy. And he was employed by Hong Kong Observatory. Do they have something to do with the weather? Maybe. And his family, of course, Bruce Lee, brother, Robert Lee, brother, etc., etc., etc. So this is the older brother of Bruce Lee, a former assistant director of Hong Kong Observatory. Not another dishwasher. So that is a strange family, I can tell you. So his older brother is a PhD, the elder brother of Bruce Lee. The Hong Kong Observatory, where he worked for, is built in Tsim Sha Tsui. Wasn't that Michael Chan Wai Man district? And they have so much problems with sunlight and heat, Born in Hong Kong, Lee was the eldest of Lee Hoi Chung and Grace Ho. He attended the LaSalle College, of course Catholic, where he excelled in his studies and sport. He started fencing and influenced his brother Bruce to take up fencing lessons with him when Bruce was around 11 to 14. Lee was a world-class fencer And in March 58 won the championship in the first inter-school fencing competition. I said, stop. Because...
Yeah, go ahead.
You laugh, but Bruce Lee, on the other hand, was a world-class cha-cha man, and he won the competition in Hong Kong also in 1958. That must be one hell of a family. He even joined the fencing team for 58 British Empire and Commonwealth Games. He won in round 1 but did not reach the quarterfinals, etc. In May 1959, he joined Bruce in Seattle for a short stay and proceeded to Minnesota to further his study. I said, we have learned from these contributions and biographies that Bruce Lee was only on his own. And now I realize also in Matthew Polly's excellent biography, Bruce Lee Alive, I learned, that he was joined by Peter Lee. And this Peter Lee was not only a great world-class fencer, but he proceeded to Minnesota for further studies. Minnesota, it's an M. Ne? Just only an M.
Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Yeah. Ne?
MM.
Yeah.
That's my hometown too, by the way.
Yeah. Shame on you, but
33rd degree Minneapolis.
It gets worse now. The tide, he completed his PhD at the department and then he returned to Hong Kong. So he was a world-class fencer, then he was studying in the University of Minnesota and returned to Hong Kong. He completed his PhD in the University of Hong Kong. The title was a ground clutter processor for the Royal Observatory's 10-centimeter meteorological radar. Has something to do with the weather. Maybe he should have warned his brother that it was getting hot in July. But it gets worse. Because look at this, that is the Royal Observatories. Interesting when you know that one of his ancestors was knighted, Knight of the British Empire, and now he's working for the Royal Observatory. I said, that's interesting, but that's just the beginning. In 1960s, Lee taught for a while at La Salle College. I said, stop. He joined Bruce in Seattle and proceeded to Minnesota to further his studies. And then I see that he studied at La Salle College in the 1960s. It must be a very busy guy, huh? And then he joined the Royal Observatory Hong Kong as assistant director and blah, 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 blah. And he was also in the La Fence team and he was a very busy guy. What a busy man. What a busy guy. Yeah. And then he moved to New Zealand. That's where Parsons came from in Enter the Dragon. And Lee's younger brothers are martial artists and actor Bruce Lee and musician Robert Lee. So it must be a heck of a family. But it gets worse. We're coming to his younger brother, Robert Lee Yun-Fai, 1948. He was the founder of a Hong Kong beat band called the Thunderbirds, a beat group, etc., and was very, very, very prominent. He founded the group in 1966 and quickly became famous in Hong Kong. So, in the time during the Vietnam War, a few singles were sung in English, and he later moved to Los Angeles, the United States, and stayed with his older brother Bruce Lee. I said, what? Okay. After his death, Robert released an album dedicated to him called The Ballad of Bruce Lee. And in 27th of November, it's birthday of Bruce Lee, of course, Robert unveiled a Bruce Lee statue in Hong Kong, celebrating what would have been Bruce's 65th birthday. He is the producer of the film Bruce Lee, My Brother. So he's in the business of movie making too. That is interesting. Look at this. He was a musician in the years 66 to 74. So that was also during the time of the Vietnam War. And during the time where his brother was still alive. And the only single that I could find was called Baby Baby. Baby, of course, is the abbreviation of Babylon. So, can somebody please sum up the Columbia Records track number 1028? Brett.
Yeah. 11.
Of course. Did you expect something else? That must be a coincidence then, huh? Babylon, Babylon, you put me down, 11. And yeah, it's just a start.
I'm sorry, there is a verse in the Bible that's Babylon has fallen, has fallen.
Yeah. And so the
maybe
name...
Maybe that's another way of saying baby, baby, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Has fallen, has fallen.
Every time that the Bible has a repetition, it means that it's very important. I think we can agree on that. So if somebody says baby, baby, that is Babylon, Babylon, but nobody sees it as it is actually, but because they are used to call a youngborn baby. So he founded a group called the Thunderbirds, and then I just said, okay, that's I have enough. Yeah, he's on Columbia Records. Yeah. You remember last session, the police car in Washington, D.C., in the Metropolitan, the seat of an Archbishop, Columbia, Washington, D.C., District of Columbia. Columbia Records, of course. Yeah, it's from the Saturn cult, or let's say just from the Roman Catholic Church, like Columbia Pictures, Columbia University.
Oh, look at that symbol.
Look at that symbol,
an
yeah.
eye within an eye within an eye.
Oh, yeah, it's like hypnotize. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really.
Controlled by the Italian Colonna family and higher above from the papacy, descendants of the Roman Emperor Julius Caesar. The Pope said that he is Caesar. Intermarried with Jesuit family Massimo. But we don't have to go into all the nitty-gritty when we know that it has been Jesuitically founded by Edward Easton, Columbia Phonograph Company in Washington, District of Columbia. What else do you need to know? And on this label, his younger brother has made a contribution called Babylon, Babylon, or Baby, Baby, with the 11 in the numerical order then. Really. So this is what they are doing at Columbia Records. Also, a certain actor, singer called Bob Dylan, who has a Nobel Prize for his songs. And Bob Dylan was the one who said, yes, he sold his soul to the devil for a short-lived fortune, fame, and glory, to the chief commander on this earth and in a world we cannot see. We talked about this in German and in English. And I found, that was today, this morning, I found an interesting quote of somebody, contribution, that said, this and every other video I can find cuts out the part where Ed, so the interviewer, asks if he means he made a deal with God, and Dylan says, no, the other guy.
Wow.
I haven't found it, aber the CBS transcription.
No, I've never heard it either, Michael. So I
me
can
too.
back you up on that. I've never heard it.
I wanted to mention that badly here. So see, the transcription, every other video I can find, use the edited version.
No, the other guy.
The great thing is that the interviewer is in a session, in a radio broadcast, or in a television broadcast, sorry. So this is all that Columbia Pictures is doing. Easy Rider, Dennis Hopper, all the people, Miles Davis, Order of Malta, Order of St. John, Leonard Cohen, Zeta Beta Tau, all these people. So it has everything to do with Laurel Canyon. Laurel Canyon also, because Capitol was being the record company who signs the Beach Boys from the Laurel Canyon. Yeah, so they're all in it. They're all in that. Pink Floyd, they're all in. Janis Joplin, oh Lord, won't you help me buy a Mercedes-Benz, huh? Miles Davis, Michael Jackson, Eddie Murphy, Quincy Jones, Bob Dylan, Diana Ross, all the stars, all the stuff. And what really tricked me was that Lee, this younger brother, was the founder of a Hong Kong beat band called the Thunderbirds. I said, oh, no, really. The Thunderbird is a mythical bird that brings thunder, obviously, in the North American Indian culture, so it is related to the United States. How should a Chinese musician come up with the name of a bird that is related to the North American Indian cultures? Why doesn't he come up with a Chinese mythological bird? Yeah, this is a Thunderbird. This is a model by Ford. Ford, being Henry Ford, being a member of the Scottish Rite Freemasonry. So I find that interesting, but that's not all. Of course, Mr. Henry Ford is a 33-degree Freemason at the Masonic Temple in Detroit, Michigan. And of course, the meeting opened at 9 p.m. and was over at 11:45 p.m. Brad, help me out.
11 again, yeah.
11 again, yeah. So
and
it
then
has.
if you add 4 and 5, you get 9. So
Yeah, 9/11. Yeah. Thank you.
11-9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
Same difference, right?
Yeah, so he's quoting a Thunderbird, which has been the model of a Freemason company. So that's the first thing. But it goes on. I have thought, okay, maybe it is too tricky for me, Maybe I asked artificial intelligence or ChatGPT. ChatGPT tells me the Thunderbird mythology and the Phoenix mythology have some similarities, but also some key differences. The Thunderbird is a powerful bird-like creature found in many indigenous cultures of North America, particularly among the Plains tribes. It usually described as a large bird with powerful wings and lightning bolts coming out of his eyes. The Thunderbird is often associated with the power of the sky, who might that be, and is considered a symbol of strength and power. Yeah.
Who might that be?
Who might that be?
Not someone you would want to invite in your house, I think, Michael.
Yeah. The phoenix, on the other hand, is a mythical bird that is typically associated with ancient Egypt, Greece, and Rome. It is said to be a bird that is reborn from its ashes and is often associated with immortality and rebirth and renewal. Sure, that's seen as it, but I haven't seen one in person, of course. The phoenix is associated with the sun and considered a symbol of rebirth. In summary, the thunderbird is a powerful bird-like creature associated with the power of the sky, while the phoenix is a mythical bird associated with rebirth and renewal. I said, okay, so much so. So let's assume that the thunderbird is a little bit similar as a powerful bird, power of the sky, like the phoenix, but not that powerful, and also only related to the tribes in North America, if you believe that. Okay, I said, okay, I'm going down another road. Because when I go to Knight Rider, yeah, I know that the introduction of Knight Rider means the Night of the Phoenix with the resurrection of Michael Long into becoming Michael Knight. Huh? And I know that the Firebird, on the other hand, is being related to a car too. And this is a Pontiac, which is very fitting because Pontiac is a name, please correct me, Brad, of an original indigenous tribe in the United States.
Really? Oh, that's interesting.
You don't know that?
I did not know that, no.
Yeah, okay. It's named after the famous Odawa chief who has also given his name to the city of Pontiac, Michigan, where the car was produced. So it is an Indian chief. So this Firebird, yeah, we have been told, has nothing to do with the Phoenix. Okay? And now I say I'm so fed up. We have 100 pages still to go. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. There you got your solution. This is the scene at 10050 Cielo Drive where the Manson murders officially happened. With Jay Sebring, Abigail Folger, Wojciech Schweikowski. Okay, and this is also the solution, I think. It is so obvious, but if you don't know the background of it. It's a 9/11 ritual. The 9/11 Porsche is been owned by Jay Sebring, and the Pontiac Firebird is been owned by Abigail Folger. They could not use a Phoenix because there was, I think, no Phoenix car, so they used the Pontiac Firebird for that. And it's also very interesting because I have learned that the pick of the day is a 1968 Pontiac Firebird, and in 68 they have enhanced the horsepower to 335. Brad, it's unbelievable. It goes on and on. It goes on and on. Yeah, this car is a mimic which been used in a film of a car owned in period by Folger's Coffee Harris Abigail Folger. Yeah, so Pontiac Firebird. Yeah, they tell you there's a Firebird. So you got a Firebird and you got a 9/11. You got a 9/11 ritual, which is called a Satanic ritual, and you got a Firebird. Here you see a 9/11. So 9/11 ritual, Revelation 9/11 of the angel of the bottomless pit of these so-called haircutter Jay Sebring. And you see a Pontiac Firebird. Not a Thunderbird from Ford, but a Firebird. Why a Firebird? Oh, it's so easy. It's quite easy. It has something to do with the ritual. But I don't think that Bruce Lee's younger son has just been made an attribution to the Thunderbirds just so. But because I think there is a resemblance to Freemason as well, as you have seen in the automotive model of Henry Ford Company. But here you see not a Thunderbird, but a Firebird. And the Firebird has 335 horses in that year, which sums up, of course, to another 11. And now, why does a company like Pontiac, which has been named like after a chief, not named the car Thunderbird, Maybe because it was already been named by Ford, Freemason, so they have come up with Firebird. And if you think that is a coincidence, then we go into this. Nobody knew Kung Fu outside of Chinatown until 1973. In 1968, Bruce wrote to a friend, Steve McQueen, after he completed this movie in San Francisco called Bullet, we will get a writer and start a Kung Fu movie with him and I in it. So this is a start toward the movie. McQueen never got around to finding a writer, forcing Bruce to approach Silverfield about the project. I think that McQueen did not had to do that movie because he was not allowed to do that movie. It's all an agenda, remember? He wanted McQueen to be involved, but Steve did not want to do it. I think that Steve McQueen was also overlooked by somebody else who forbid him that, no, the time is not right. Because why? Clearly, because 1968 was the year that the Vietnam War was raging. The highest number of soldiers. Of course, they could not use an Asian lead male character, an actor. They could not use him. They have to portray the Asian guys as a threat, as the enemy. So it is all politics.
It's all fomentation.
Over the years, there have also been rumors that Sebring on Cielo Drive with Sharon Tate also invited Bruce Lee, who was friendly with Sharon, taught Polanski Jeet Kune Do and only lived a few miles away from the Tate-Polanski home. When I asked Linda about the rumors, she said, not as far as I know. I did not uncover every evidence to suggest that Sebring invited Bruce. It's about the Manson murders here, huh? In March 1969, Charles Manson was furious about, this is BS, but it's officially, Terry Melcher's failure to deliver a record contract, went to Melcher's house on Cielo Drive, unaware that Melcher had already moved out. Manson showed up in the middle of the party given by one of the new residents, Sharon Tate. So they knew each other. And you don't have to believe it. Of course, it must be a 22 caliber revolver in that. Yeah, so 22, 33, 11... but it gets worse. After the funeral of Sharon Tate and Jay Sebring, Mito Uehara asked Bruce, Sebring studied Kung Fu with you, why didn't he fight back? Bruce replied, Sebring could never get out of a situation like that. He still was too green and he wasn't that type of a guy who would fight back. And you have to believe it, of course. But being under the threat of a death penalty, in November 1969, Susan Atkins, who was arrested on unrelated charges, boasted about the killing to fellow prisoners. They turned her in. And can you imagine that somebody says, oh yeah, I did it, and facing a death trial? Somebody could be so stupid? I don't think so. So it's all acting. Yeah, and officially Bruce Lee was going to a favorite fortune teller. You have to believe it. Okay. And I don't want to be fooled. You see that? I think that this is no coincidence here. And this is just short stills from the last movie of Sharon Tate officially waving goodbye. It was so heartbreaking to see Sharon Tate in the last movie waving goodbye, knowing what would happen, would make everybody sad and heartbreaking that she had died in a Manson ritual murder, which is totally BS. Yeah, she is an army asset. That's why she's posing almost nude with an Archer, so Sagittarius Golden Gate, and with a Vietnam star. So she's an army asset with a wet T-shirt. A beginner's in that article called "The Beginner's Guide to Mao Zedong." So it has clearly a relationship to Asia, at least. Yeah, so Mao Zedong, which was a Jesuit. But it gets worse. The name Sharon means the Rose of the Valley, so Rosenthal, one of the Rosicrucian family who control the Hollywood film industry. And the Rose of Sharon, and this is BS, is a biblical expression, though the identity of the plant referred to is unclear and is disputed among biblical scholars. And I have another meaning to that. I have another explanation found of that. As at least we have some biblical things. The Hebrew phrase Habalaset Hasaron was translated by the editors of the King James Version of the Bible as Rose of Sharon. However, previous translations had rendered it simply as the flower of the field. Now, bear in mind that everybody wants to destroy the Bible. And the thing is that, is the King James Bible correct? Or are all the other explanations correct? And I have found a quite other explanation of that by using eSword. Isn't that lovely? Not likely to have been a plant from the Bible. And what does Esort tells me? Can you read it? What's here has been stated? Probably abridged.
Probably abridged from H3474 for plane, Sharon, the name of a place in Palestine.
Ah, so it must not necessarily be a plant. I am
Correct.
the Rose of Sharon means I am the resident of Sharon. The thing is here, Sharon is the name of a place in Palestine. Look at this. This is La Sharon. So that is more likely that is a Rose of Sharon. So that is something to do, with a place in Palestine, which would mean that Sharon is not only the Rose of the Valley, but the Rose of La Sharon. Or
That's right.
that she's really maybe has some ties in her family to Palestine. Who knows? When Bruce Lee is partly Jewish, then everything is possible in the movie world. So don't you ever underestimate. These people are all actors, and I found that picture so hilarious because it's just been portrayed here between lovely and lucrative.
Oh. Yeah, that's about it too.
That's about it. So this is the last picture. It's called the 13 Stairs. I said, it's of course renamed as 12 plus 1. So that it's not that obvious that it resembles 13. It's called from 1969. So see the captures 130 to 151, and this is the last scene where people said, "Oh, look at her, she's so beautiful, and she's waving," and after that, you have been killed by Manson. If you believe it. Are stills from that movie, So, Stephanie.
Yes, it's 13.
13, yes. How can it be? If the movie is called 13, 12 plus 1, So they start with a, you won't believe it, with a hairdresser saloon. Oh, does that remind you?
You're talking about the address on the building.
Yes.
Or the awning.
Yes. Can you imagine?
I'm sorry, I'm a little slow.
No
you
problem.
guys are way ahead of me.
You're in Minnesota. It's very cold out there. But you see,
right.
Can you imagine that it starts the male lead?
You're 7 hours ahead of me.
Yeah.
So.
Can you imagine the main lead character and that is a barber? So he cuts hair. Does that remind you of Jay Sebring? She's in a movie as a female lead to a male lead who is playing a hairdresser. Oh, what a coincidence, huh? To Jay Sebring and the Sharon Tate murder. So let's get it go. Of course, it has everything to do with the number 13, as you can clearly see here, and it has been to do with somebody has made a gift from his deceased aunt or something, and he just have got 13 shares, and in one of the shares he later finds out there is a big wealth and money in it, and but he already has sold the share, so it's a search around Europe and all the stuff, but you see, it is clearly a hairdresser. You can see it, huh? It is a hairdresser. Like Jay Sebring, but it gets worse. The producer is called Edward J. Pope, and I said, of course, it's just a coincidence. Let's get it on. Let's move on. Of course, the number of the room can't be any other. Must be a coincidence then. Yeah.
Oh, it's right in your face.
It's so in your face. Look at the checkered floor. Yeah, it's so in your face. It's an embassy here. It's a checkered floor, Masonic. It must be a coincidence then. Well, it gets worse. Yeah. Of course, the public auction is only be present here, between 9 and 11. Sure, huh? 9/11. Come on. It gets worse. Yeah. So it's just they have then bought the wrong stuff and all the stuff. I can't imagine why I have looked it up. Maybe I don't know that guy, who that guy is. Maybe has also some meaning. I do not know. But it gets worse and worse. One of those chairs has been sold to the Theatre of the Macabre. Macabre means death, by the way. Yeah, so it has something to do with the theater. Okay. I was reminded of Manson family with their van, but maybe it's just only me. But it gets worse. Yeah, this is a car they are driving. Stephanie, please, once again, could you please add 4 plus 8 plus 1?
It's 13 again.
It's 13 again, just a coincidence, of course, yeah. So this is a car, they are just then escaping and driving and everything. And here you see them, the prostitute who has one of the 13 stairs. You see roses in the background. What could that mean, Brad?
What in the background?
Roses.
Oh, roses. Oh.
What could that mean?
Rosicrucians.
Rosicrucians, yes. So then you got a mirror. I said finally a mirror. There's nothing to do, of course, with later movies with a mirror and with all the stuff that we talked about. That so that must be a coincidence too, yeah. And then out of a sudden they realize that one of the chairs is in none other country than, Italy. Of course, must be. So they are moving to Italy, yeah. And then. You know that she was officially pregnant at that time when that movie shot, but she has absolutely no problem to have a threesome in that movie. And you think that you don't even think that she's what shall I say? Yeah, Whore of Babylon. What shall I say? So Army Asset is a very kind depiction of her, I think. Yeah. So if you are topless in a movie when you are pregnant. Sorry, I think that she's one of the actress who would almost do anything to be recognized or what. I'm sorry for that, but you can't say that she's innocent when she's been portrayed like that in a threesome. Great. Okay, let's go on. The final stage is that they are just chasing a chair, which they think is then precious and has a fortune in it. And then they just been fetched up by some children and being put on a wagon, on a lorry. And this is the lorry. And I said, come on. Yeah, Santa Rosalia. Yeah, there is that chair then on what they are looking for. That must be this or what, I do not know. Yeah, Santa Rosalia. Santa means saint, and Rosalia means the rose, the holy rose. And this is the last picture, 1969, of Sharon Tate, and we know that is
wait a second.
Wait,
you're telling me that this movie, 13 chairs or whatever, 12 plus 1 chairs, whatever. This movie, the whole plot of the movie is to find the chair with the money in it?
Yes.
How stupid.
It's a funny movie, that's not the problem. It's also Orson Welles in it, but I think you see this is the solving of the riddle is the chair then is being deposed and being thrown on that lorry, yeah, which is then being stated on the side of Santa Rosalia, which means the Holy Rose.
Oh,
that's the thing. Santa Rosalia, this is the Holy Rose. And then out of a sudden, of course, by coincidence, they are just in a restaurant and the TV is running and they see that, by accident, young children has found in a chair a fortune of a collier and all jewelry and all the stuff. And this, of course, has been coming down from the monastery of Santa Rosalia. Yeah, so it's Rosicrucian. And they're telling it you right in the open. It's a Rosicrucian. It's Freemason. It's running the show. Also in Sharon Tate. It's everywhere. It's a checkered floor. It's the 13. It's Santa Rosalia. You see, what else do you need to know? Yeah? And she's just waving goodbye and he's showing her breasts and all the stuff because she's just an actress. She's just doing what she's told to do. Yeah, she's just waving to the guy, to the hairdresser who drives off, and he's driving back to his hairdresser saloon with the 13, of course. Yeah, and it's called Mario the Barber. And then he discovers a secret formula which old men can get their own hairs back, and then he looks like this and all the stuff. So it's sorcery, and so this is just the last movie of Sharon Tate, and it's just Rosicrucian. It's all over the place. Yeah, I don't have to convince you. You can look up.
Looks like Charles Manson.
Yeah, it looks like Charles Manson himself. Yeah, you can look it up for yourself. I got it in German. I got it in English. Yeah, so.
Oh man.
Yeah, and what people see is, oh, look how beautiful she is, and she was pregnant and she was murdered. Yeah, and what you don't see in the movie that after the ship has gone off, yeah, she's returned to the Rolls Royce of another lover. Haha. See the red colors and all the stuff. Come on. So everything has to do with the movie production. And we know that the Vietnam War has been made by the Roman Catholic Church to get rid of the Buddhist dominance in Vietnam or in Asia. So it is so hilarious when we find this quote. Steve McQueen, so the most prominent actor, skipped Sharon Tate's funeral after the Manson murders. Her husband, Roman Polanski, said he would never forgive McQueen for not attending. Come on, where's the laughter? Come on, you should lie on the floor like Sharon Tate here, yeah, laughing, yeah, because McQueen is Navy, yeah, Roman Polanski is a Jew and Freemason, at least, if not worse, yeah. So, and McQueen, I think he knew that it was all a setup, and therefore he did not attend the funeral. He said, okay, come on, I'm not into that, all this stuff. I'm not buying it or what else. Yeah. And when Roman Polanski said he would never forgive McQueen for not attending, you see, that all is a big comedy show. It's a big comedy show. It's nothing else.
Yeah, but the problem is you have to be initiated to understand.
You have to be initiated, yes.
That's a big problem.
Yeah, so in 1970, after 1 year after or a few months after the so-called assassination, Mr. Polanski asked Bruce Lee to instruct him in Skat in Switzerland. Sure. Yeah, and when Fred Weintraub says, okay, Jesus Christ, of course. So I thought, okay, it would be fitting to go into the Bruce Lee's timeline, at least partially. We have 80 pages, 80, 90 pages to go. I'm just really going into full force here now, but it's just so much things. So he was born in San Francisco deliberately. He appeared in a movie, Golden Gate Girl 777, which has also a meaning of Lieber 777, maybe on other stuff, of Arista Crowley, can have so much meanings. So he's a child boy actor star. You see all the movies that he's making. Yeah, he's a child actor star. Then he wins the Colony Cha-Cha Championship. He defeats a 3-year champ in boxing. Starts in another movie. He begins to learn Kung Fu. He travels back to San Francisco. He arrives in San Francisco. He makes demonstrations. He graduates then in San Francisco School in Hong Kong. And of course in July the 18th. And all the stuff, and not going into anything because I'm just about to lose my voice here. And it's not that important, because important are other things. You see, I will never finish on that issue. That's otherwise. So, in 1969, we learn that he writes that inspirational note, my definite chief aim. I cannot imagine that he has written it without the Jesuits, because he had to know Isaiah 14:12. But where does he know that when he's not into the Catholic belief?
He was tipped.
I think.
Me too.
So then Bruce Lee bought a Porsche 911. Surprised? There are only a few models available in Hollywood. It can only be a Thunderbird, a Firebird, or a 911. My. So, and then you find that strange coincidence that Roman Polanski thought that Bruce Lee killed Sharon Tate. Because somebody left his glasses, and Bruce Lee said that he lost his glasses, and of course said somebody here, the entertainment, so the enter you entertain you mentally, that it was the followers of Charles Manson, which is totally the BS theory, But few months later, he teaches martial arts to the Roman Polanski director in Switzerland. And he's also Jewish. So they both got something in common. And I would suggest that both are Freemasons too. Bruce stayed at Polanski's chalet in Switzerland, February in 1970. In letters to his wife, we have already found out he claimed to have a miserable life. So I think that he was instructed. I think that as Sebring had to delete from the scene because officially he had been murdered, Polanski took over as he was a director. He was a director. So I think that he was instructing Bruce what to do next, or he was just making ties, and we never will experience whom they have met in Switzerland, because Bruce Lee had only said there were so much wealthy people there. Everybody has a chalet, so a castle. Everybody has horses. I suggest they have met people from the Knights of Templars and all the stuff. But I can't, of course, prove it. But then it came to my mind that there is something fishy about it, because afterwards, when he was in Switzerland in 1971, out of a sudden, Golden Harvest, Raymond Chow, sends Lau Lea Wang to USA to convince Bruce to star in 2 films. And he was advised by James Coburn, who played also 007 in Mr. Flint, that he should do these Hong Kong movies on a very low fee. So I think they have thought about it after he went to Switzerland, and then they sent a cable to all the guys in. So it was planned, what I want to say, and I will show it to you. I have somebody who can back it up. The name is Cassius Clay, better known as Muhammad Ali. Here you see him with a Rolls Royce, the car that Bruce Lee wanted to have. And this is coming from the original Wikipedia entry of Muhammad Ali. And it has something to do with, surprise, surprise, Vietnam. He failed the US Army forces, the same thing that happened to Bruce Lee, because his writing and spelling skills were substandard due to dyslexia. Then he stated, war is against the teachings of the Quran, because then he was a converted Muslim. And he said, we don't take part in Christian wars or wars of any unbelievers. Really interesting that he says it is Christian wars. In 1966, he antagonized the white establishment by refusing to draft it into the United States military, citing his religious belief in opposition to American involvement in the Vietnam War. Ali refused to budge when his name was called, and he was arrested. Later that same day, the New York State Athletic Commission suspended his boxing license, and the World Boxing Association stripped him of his title. That was because he was refused 3 times to step forward in the United Army forces he did not want to fight in Vietnam. Therefore, they stripped him of his license to box. In 1967, a group of high-profile African-American athletes, including Jim Brown, Bill Russell, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, they took a stand for Muhammad Ali. But then I was reminded, yes, that's the guy, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the, 7'2" giant basketball player. I said, oh, that is interesting. He has something to do with Muhammad Ali as well. So when we know that Bruce Lee is most likely a Jewish Freemason, I'm sorry, but you will see, Mr. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar attends in this game of death. So let's have it here for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Look at this. He's known as Lou Alcindor, but then, of course, he has been converted to Islam as well, like Muhammad Ali. He has also been an actor, a baseball coach, a best-selling author, and martial artist, having trained in Jeet Kune Do under Bruce Lee and appeared in his film Game of Death 1972. In 2016, President Barack Obama awarded him the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Can you imagine? At the age of 24 and 71, he converted to Islam, and he became Karim, which means a noble one, a servant of the Almighty. He was named by Hamas Abdul Khalis, and he purchased and donated 7700 16th Street, NW, a house in Washington, D.C., District of Columbia, for Qadis to use at the Hanafi Madhab Center. A few years later, the location would become the place of the 1973 you really have to look at this Hanafi Muslim massacre. So where he purchased a house, became the place of a massacre. What a coincidence! But it gets worse. I also have incorporated here the German Wikipedia, because there was some information which I could not find in the English Wikipedia. On the 18th of January 1873, where Bruce Lee was officially alive and kicking, men with weapons were in the house, and they were murdering 7 persons, also among 5 children. The number of his shirt, 33, was a homage on the American football player Mel Triplett, end of the 60s, running back at the New York Giants, if you believe that. What a coincidence. He just converted to Islam. He take a stand of Muhammad Ali, and in his home there was a murder of 7 persons, and he has got a number of 33 of the Lakers. But of course, you have to believe that. You have to swallow that drop. And it is not an aspirin. And I don't believe it. So, back to Ali. As public opinion began turning people against the war and the civil rights movement continued to gather momentum, Ali became a popular speaker at colleges on university across the country. Yeah, he became a black... What?
I says, oh yeah. Oh yeah. We know Muhammad Ali, all right.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Michael.
He knew he was going to jail and did it anyway. That's another letter of leadership and sacrifice. Ali was honored with the annual Martin Luther King Award in 1970 by civil rights leader Ralph Abernathy, who called him a living example of soul power and the March of Washington in two fists. And we know that Martin Luther King was controlled opposition.
And, you know, let's look at this for just a second. You know, he was given the name Martin Luther, huh? Gee, I wonder why.
Yeah, sure.
Gee, I really wonder why in this new Babylon we live in. Why would they do that? Oh, there's many reasons to do that.
So, therefore, the NSA and FBI were monitoring Ali's communications. And I apologize for my voice, but I'm speaking now for more than 4 hours. I'm really sorry. I've tried to retain my voice, so I don't speak that loud. In Ali's fight of the century with Frazier, the Citizens Commission to investigate the FBI pull off a burglary at an FBI office in Pennsylvania. The anticipation for the fight was unlike anything else, so they believed the security would also be focused on the fight. This raid exposed the COINTELPRO operations that included illegal spying on activists involved with the civil rights and anti-war movements. And this, of course, is very close resembled to Operation Chaos. And then we're speaking about the murder of Manson, or the not murder of Manson. One of the COINTELPRO targets was Ali. And you think that if Bruce Lee was kind of involved in that, in Jay Sebring and Sharon Tate, that he was not monitored? Come on. So Ali, because he did not do his so-called duties in Vietnam, he did not fight from 67 to 70. And that's very important because Ali was one of the biggest idol of Bruce Lee. So he was aware of the Vietnam War. Ali's first bout was against Jerry Quarry when he returned on October the 26th, resulting in a win after 3 rounds after Quarry was cut. A month earlier, a victory in federal court forced the New York State Boxing Commission to reinstate Ali's license. So come on, it's all politics. It has nothing to do with his abilities or his money. It's all politics. Because in 1970, the Vietnam War was not at its all-time high. It was 1968. And therefore, he has been suspended between 67 and 70. You'd think that is a coincidence? That is the same coincidence that Bruce Lee could not land any movies in Hong Kong or Hollywood, except Marlowe, and that's just a cheap shot. It's between 67 and 71. And you think that is a coincidence? I don't think so. In 1973, we're speaking about the layer that officially Bruce Lee there have been made Enter the Dragon and later on died. Ken Norton broke Ali's jaw while giving him the second loss of his career. That was on the 31st March of 1973. I said, oh, come on, not again. Because March the 31st, it's just 331 or 33. Also the same date that the son of Bruce Lee died, Brandon Lee, in 19... So Ali is in the ring, the narrator says, dancing around in that robe that Elvis Presley gave him. Aha. So, somebody broke his jaw and he could not speak. Introducing in the white corner a former Marine, the number 1. I said, a former Marine, also like Steve McQueen, who is also a boxer, who is the opponent of... Muhammad Ali. That's strange that the next fight he encountered then was an army guy, a Marine guy, but must be a coincidence. But it gets worse because Muhammad Ali got a beating. Yeah, and he was not defending very good. He was very lousy, I have to say. But who am I to judge? Yeah, he was very lousy. You see that usually he would have his arms up, so maybe that was also staged. I do not know. Yeah, but the commentator then says he missed it in the second round and blah, 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 blah. You have to wonder again. See, we saw Muhammad Ali, last night at a party. So remember, that was the day before the big match. We saw Ali last night at a party. He has a broken jaw, and he was having a good time at last. So would you attend a party before you have a big fight? So maybe they have also mixed something in his drink or what else, that he had a headache or what else. I think these things are also being set up. That is just my feeling at the moment. I can't prove it, of course. But when he's just defending so lousy and officially he had a broken jaw, I do not know if you can smile with a broken jaw, but I don't think so. I think it's much as staged here and been set up before. Yeah. The commentator is quote unquote saying, Ali is really tired. He was laughing at a party last night, applauding and joking. And you really think that is a coincidence? So who invited him? I think that everything here is being set up. There are no coincidences in the big agenda. It is the Vietnam War. It is a Marine guy. Ali attended a party the night before. Come on. You see, the Vietnam War has been prominently mentioned in many, many, many movies, TV series, and the music industry. From left to right, this is here Magnum PI. This is MASH. And this is Paul Hart Castle 19. These are the things that were just coming in my mind. So, and of course, Agent Orange. Orange meaning the number 33 code for Freemasonry. So the Vietnam War lasted almost 20 years with a direct involvement ending in 1973, which is the exact year when Mr. Lee made this Enter the Dragon movie, and also the year that he died. What a coincidence. Must be a coincidence. And 20 years later, his son Brandon died. Must also be a coincidence. And what also must be a coincidence is that in the exact same year, 1973, allegedly on 13 March, but other sources say in April, that Bruce Lee was, as a former student of the Jesuit Saint-Francis Xavier College, was then visiting that school. And it's very strange because that was Brother Edward who put him into the box ring, actually. Brother Edward encouraged Bruce to make good use of his gift in another arena, the inter-school boxing tournament, which used to be dominated by Westerners from International School for Children, etc. Bruce ended up knocking out the 3-year champion and is the new king in the ring. So he was being under supervision of the Jesuits when it comes down to boxing. My opinion is very obvious, also very strange that he showed his gun, which was illegal at the time in Hong Kong, to Brother Gregory, because they were both on extremely friendly terms. And we know that Jesuits are running the drug rings. But you don't have to believe it. You just have to look for coincidences. Yeah? You only have to look for coincidences. We're speaking about 1973, right? 1973 is the day when the World Trade Center opens in New York City. The tallest towers on Earth. And they resemble a certain numerological value in Roman letters, which is called this. It's 11, of course. So easy.
1-1.
Yes. And you got even 3 segments here.
True.
So it's always the same. Nobody tells you what the purpose is of this. Yeah, it's stability. What else? Sure.
3 + 3 is 6.
Yeah.
6 is another code for Friday, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. So
Friday is notoriously known as the most stressful, wigged out day of the week.
Yeah, and look what they're telling you. It's the Tower of Babel, huh?
Yeah.
It's Freemasonry, the 11. Yeah? The closest some of us will ever get to heaven. Yeah? So
yeah, that's pathetic.
Do I have to quote Genesis 11 again? I don't think so.
Right.
So, when the World Trade Center opens, Bruce Lee was in full force producing, or let's say acting in Enter the Dragon. Yeah? So, a city and a tower. The Twin Towers. Yeah? Let us build a city and a tower.
Look at the way they word that. Back up here. It's the closest some of us will ever get to heaven. Oh, ha, ha, ha.
Only initiations. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Look how many look how many stories that building has.
110.
110. Yeah.
Which would be 11.
Yeah. Sure.
110.
What do you expect?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, and so that is exactly the Tower of Babel. You know that is Freemasonry behind it. And then, of course, they have a one-word religion and one-word tower afterwards, of course. After the big financial scam, and they have just made money even with that. Huh?
Right.
So that is the same year when Warner Brothers, Freemason, 33, then have a collaboration with Raymond Chow and Bruce Lee, which is no coincidence because there is Freemasonry everywhere. Jack Warner being 33-degree Freemason, Bruce Lee being circumcised, having a Dutch ancestry, Jewish ancestry. So everybody tells you that he was in the movies, and also the mafia and the mental pressure was mounting up. That comes here from Hawkins Chung, and this is an autopsy archive photo of Bruce Lee. The problem that I got with this photo is that's the only one photo, and how do I believe that is authentic or not? Some say the Chinese mafia approaching about certain things. I don't know the entire story. Yeah, everybody is talking about the triads. Some of them also say, oh yeah, Bruce Lee, he never died. He's now the judge to O.J. Simpson, Lance Ito. And I've looked that up. I don't believe it because the sound does not match, and some other things do not match. Sorry, some guys really I have a hard time with. Yeah, so the problem is whom to trust in this world. Yeah, a researcher that I came across a few weeks ago when I was doing research is Miles Matthews. So he comes up with really strange stuff, but some of them are really making sense. And what also makes sense is that he shows us his documents, which is coming from the University of Texas in Austin, and Phi Beta Phi and Phi Beta Kappa. So I think he's got a little bit insight, but whom to trust? You see, do I trust him? Do I trust Bruce Lee, who's just then in Bel Air and is just has any connections to Steve McQueen, Roman Polanski, Sharon Tate? Or do I trust Tom Bleecker, who says that, oh yeah, Freemason are people who profess the faith in God? So all of them are positive concerning Freemasonry. So do I get the truth, or do I have to use my common sense? I think I do use my common sense. So whom do we believe?
Good for you. That's right, Michael.
So
common sense rules.
Whom to believe? Mainstream, writers, actors, directors, Pop Card Master. I do not know who Pop Card Master is. Maybe he's also some kind of specialist. I do not know. But I found a shortcut. 50 pages left. I found a shortcut, which you won't believe. The shortcut is actually his son. His son is called Brandon Lee. Of course, it's the same all over again. He's in horror movies, and he's got a mark of Cain and all the stuff you see. And he was the son of actor Bruce Lee, and we talked about that. And there's so much strange things going on in the Lee family. His sister, for example, Shannon Lee, which was of course the daughter of Bruce Lee, played in a vampire movie Blade, like Sharon Tate in The Fearless Vampire Killer. So much of coincidences, but it gets really, really worse now. You see, it is very strange when you got a young actor who is then engaged with somebody who wants to marry her after his film The Crow. Mr. Lee portrays the Crow, so Crow Lee. And it's very strange when he's then depicted with death all over the place. Yeah, his favorite car is a hearse. And now, this time, it does not sum up to 18 or anything else. It's just 9 plus 4 plus 8. Of course, that's 21. But that's not my big thing. My big thing is that I have really a strange sense of feeling. And I told from the beginning, years ago, I said, there is a coincidence in the death of Bruce Lee and Brandon Lee. And if I cannot solve the death of Bruce Lee, then let's go into Brandon Lee. And you do really believe that his favorite car is a Cadillac hearse because it's so comfy. You really I have a hard time believing that, and I'm not the only one. Yeah, and he was a huge Harold and Maude fan. Do you know that series, Brad?
No, not at all, really.
Yeah, I can't know anything or everything.
No, I don't know. There's too much. We say in America, TMI, too much information.
Harold and Maude, a black comedy. Intrigued with death, rejects the life his detached mother prescribed him. He develops a relationship. Somebody who was obsessed with death. So therefore you got here the rope and you got okay. Let's look it up. Who has produced that? Paramount Pictures. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. Okay. So Hollywood. Okay. Good to know. But maybe there are other connections too. This is the studio, and the last officially cited phrase of him in the movie was, "Take your shot, fun boy, you got me dead bang." I said, okay, interesting. Let's go into Brandon Lee, and I'm glad this is the last session. I'm just stressed out of all this stuff. Brandon and Elisa, his fiancée, were going to get married right after the filming his last movie, The Crow, was completed. Brandon supposedly believed that the males in his family were cursed because his grandfather angered some Chinese merchants. Some say that Brandon was so obsessed with death that he took to driving around LA in a hearse and visiting Jim Morrison's grave in Paris. Sounds pretty normal to me. And sorry, I don't agree to that. Jim Morrison's grave in Paris means he's the son of the Navy commander in the Gulf of Tonkin, which led to the Vietnam so-called incidents. And, of course, it relates to Laurel Canyon. So, once again, some say that Brandon was so obsessed with that he took to driving around LA in a hearse and visiting Jim Morrison's grave in Paris. Sounds pretty normal to me. He told friends that he would never live to see 30. Guess what? He was right. Isn't that a strange coincidence to the case of Bruce Lee, when Bruce Lee said, "Yeah, I'm not living anymore," and blah 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 blah. Interesting, huh? The set of The Crow, of course, was plagued with problems from the get-go and blah la 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 la. We all know about Brandon and his famous father Bruce. Bruce Lee died in Hong Kong in 1973 when Brandon was only 8. At the time of his own death, Brandon was becoming a successful actor on his own, living down the stigma of being Bruce Lee's son. He was also engaged to marry writer Eliza Hutton. By the way, Brandon lived at 1901 Benedict Canyon in LA, and guess where that is? Guess where that is? It is very close to, right, where all is in. Brandon's last sane words were supposedly, "Bang, bang, don't forget to send flowers." He was telling another actor to remember to bring the flowers for his character upcoming funeral scene.
Excuse me, Michael, I didn't understand what you said after you said, "Where is Brandon lived in 1905?
Yeah, that's Benedict Canyon is the neighbor of Laurel Canyon in LA. That is where everything happened. Yeah. So Brandon's last sane words were supposedly, "Bang, bang, don't forget to send flowers." He was telling another actor to remember to bring the flowers for his character upcoming funeral scene. So it is a funeral scene, and accidentally they tell you he has been shot there. In preparation for the scene, prop man David Kuttner filled the gun being used with blanks. The error he made was not checking the gun barrel for obstruction, and you, of course, have to believe that. Shortly after midnight on March the 31st, remember, Muhammad Ali fight and also some documents of leaving San Francisco, filming the scene began. It was a flashback scene intended to show how his character was killed. The premise of the flick was that his spirit returns and avenges death. Where do we know that from? Huh? Phoenix? Anybody? Brandon was wearing a black leather jacket, black blues, corduroys, and a t-shirt with the name of his character's band on the front. I don't give a peep on your explanation that is about a Harold and Maude movie, and he was a so big fan. He says, "Oh, I want to see the age of 30 and all the stuff." Yeah. So I think, in my humble opinion, and you don't have to agree with me, I'm busting the door right open now for the last 46 pages. In that scene where he was supposed to die, and it is about a killing on a set which appeared once in a lifetime. The other one was, I think it was Alec Baldwin or so, lately. And Brandon was wearing a black leather jacket, black boots, corduroys, and a t-shirt with the name of his character's band on the front, Hangman's Joke. And this is my explanation of all the mess. To bust the door wide open means to expose corrupt practices or a secret plan to put an end to corruption. And that is my wish, that you really see that it's no coincidence everywhere. So, a t-shirt with the name of his character's band on the front, Hangman's Joke. And they will tell you that there's something to do, of course, with Harold and Maude with the rope. I got quite another explanation. That is the t-shirt on the left with a crow. Yeah, Mr. Lee plays the crow, Crowley. Crowley has a ritual, the Mass of the Phoenix. And the hangman, of course, is the tarot card 12. But where is that hanged man been positioned in, or the left foot on the hanged man? You know that symbol here. I'm not speaking.
Oh, yeah, the Ankh.
The Ankh, of course.
J. Sebring. Yeah, right.
J. Sebring.
Sure.
But the hanged man does not symbolize death. So the explanation that he foresaw his death and all the stuff does not make any sense, because the hanged man does not symbolize death. The hanged man is card 12. But death, I can promise you, and I can show that to you, is the tarot card death. Death is the card 13. But the hanged man does not resemble death, but it resembles a man hanging on an ankh, means rebirth.
Oh, born again.
Born again.
Like
and that
Mr.
means
George W. Bush when interviewed by Barbara Walters, huh?
Mm-hmm. And that
I'm
means
born again. Yeah. If you mean by a Christian that I'm born again, then the answer is yes.
Born again in their language, of course, means initiated. Going through the abyss. Going through the abyss in Crowley, Cinema, going through the abyss.
Very interesting you bring this up, Michael.
So if somebody is been depicted as a hanged man, yeah, and it has to do with Crowley, I use
upside down. He's upside down, and the serpent is right below his head.
That means somebody is initiated. It means that he looked
initiated in the ways of the serpent. It's obvious.
It means that is portraying the world, everything that he used to have, upside down. So with another different perspective. So it's initiated. It means Ankh, the Ankh, we have talked about that in Egyptian mythology, is the symbol, a key of life. It has nothing to do whatsoever with that, although, of course, they have the 3 nails to make a mockery out of the sacrifice of Jesus Christ and all the stuff. Okay, yes.
You know, it's also an upside-down 4 if you look at the legs.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
You see, there can't be that explanation of Harold and Maude, because Harold and Maude had nothing to do with Crowley. I've not seen that movie. Okay, I have to look that movie as well. But come on, you see, the hangman has to do with the initiation. And don't come up with the lame joke of Harold and Maude. Yeah, been portrayed by Paramount Pictures. Then you know that there's are Jewish Freemasons behind it as well. So the hanged man does not symbolize death, but the hanged man on an ankh means rebirth, or renewal, or initiation, or new life after initiation. Okay? Okay. And there you got your connection already. Because that's the hanged man. The hanged man does mean rebirth. So when Sharon Tate has been depicted with a rope around her neck, and she's then resurrected as Patty Tate, then it means rebirth. She has been initiated, she has going through the abyss, at least in a symbolic ritual, and the same occurred, obviously, to Mr. J. Sebring. But as J. Sebring most likely was alive and kicking, as well as Sharon Tate was, they both have got new identities. So don't come up with any, there is an official document. There are many official documents. There's many documents on the case of other stuff. There are many documents. It's not a problem.
Well, as you and I both know, Michael, in this antichrist world we live in,
yeah,
no big deal to them.
Yeah, but you really have to see the connections now from Brandon Lee with Hangman's Joke and the Crow.
Yes.
Yeah, he's wearing that T-shirt here, Hangman's Joke, and the hangman is not death, but officially he has been shot at the set.
Officially.
Officially. So the hanged man does not mean death but rebirth. The official explanation is called: there is a halo burning brightly around the hanged man's head. See that here in different tarot forms, signifying a higher learning or an enlightenment. It has nothing to do whatsoever with death, but with enlightenment and rebirth. And what is the birth of rebirth? The bird. Peep, peep, peep. It's the phoenix, huh?
Oh, the bird.
Yes.
The bird of rebirth. Yes. Yeah. That's what you tried to say. Yeah.
It's a bird
of rebirth.
The chippy chippy bird of rebirth is the phoenix. Yes.
I don't think it's so chirpy if it's a firebird. It died already.
Yeah, but rebirth, it means going through the abyss or being initiated, and you see that. It's really a mess in the case. Yeah, but if you then compare that to the case or the strange case of Bruce Lee, do you think that Bruce Lee is the example from the rule? That he did not know anything? That he wasn't part of Laurel Canyon, that he just by accident knew Steve McQueen and Roman Polanski, Sharon Tate, Jay Sebring, when he was one of the officially prime suspects in the murder? You really think that he's the exception when he is Jewish and most likely Freemason and coming from a so-called Rockefeller family? And one of his ancestors was knighted and all the stuff, and his father was a very prominent actor, and his brother has a band called the Thunderbirds.
Wow. Go ahead, Michael. Yeah, this is really starting to come together all of a sudden.
Yes, and now we got Mrs. Abigail Folger, which was one of the victims who drove a Pontiac Firebird, which was prominently been placed beside a 911 of Jay Sebring. Then it's also, I do not know where that picture is, it's also the rebirth of Abigail Folger. This time, okay, black and white would do it, okay? Yeah.
Yeah.
So then it's also, she's driving a Pontiac Firebird, which is a phoenix. Then it's also, in her case, she is just being reborn. Although I haven't not seen any picture with her with a robe, but so be it. She's got a Pontiac Firebird. So everything sums up. It's a ritual in the Manson case. And when then Brandon Lee comes up and says, it's a hangman's joke and it's Crowley. And Crowley's ritual is the ritual of the phoenix or the mass of the phoenix.
Wait a second. Hangman's Joke is the name of the band the character Brandon Lee was playing in the movie, correct? Oh. Just want to make sure I get that right. So it's a movie, it's a script, right? So
yeah. Brandon was wearing a black leather jacket, black boots, corduroys, and a t-shirt with the name of his character's band on the front, Hangman's Joke.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So it wasn't okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just for the movie.
So this is actually the t-shirt from the movie.
Yes, or for the fans, yes.
Yeah, it says The Crow underneath it, saying that, okay, this is officially what
for the movie The Crow, for the name of the band Hangman's Joke, yes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
And it's a black t-shirt with white.
With a white skull, or skeleton, yes.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
Starting to remind me of more and more of something else, too.
Yeah. What does that remind you?
Jesuits.
Yeah. And then,
any surprise here?
No, it gets even worse now, and I hope that Stephanie is still around. Sharon Tate also has been named that she did take kung fu lessons from Bruce Lee, and they, supposedly Polanski, had a dinner with Senator Robert Kennedy, which was murdered in, if I remember correctly, that is a picture of here, the assassination of Kennedy, in the Ambassador Hotel in 1968. So there are ties from Sharon Tate to Robert Kennedy as well. On the 6th of June, 6/6 in 1968. And the problem is that the wound does not match with the angle of Sirhan Sirhan, because Sirhan Sirhan was just standing in front of him. and the wound, if I remember correctly, was in the ear from beneath. So there is something fishy about it. And it gets worse. The actor who played Funboy, who accidentally shot Brandon Lee on the set, is called Michael Massey, MM33. He played a drug dealer that had broken into Lee's apartment and was in the process of raping Lee's girlfriend. It's interesting. When I read that quote here from Bruce Lee Alive, in one of his earliest interviews, Brandon told Black Bat magazine, "I'd be talking with people and they invite me out for a drink. I'd be thinking, does this person really like me, or are they just screwing me because I'm Bruce Lee's son?" You make up your own mind what you believe. I have made up mine, at least today, and I'm not finished. So here we are in the situation that Linda told Bruce that she was pregnant and therefore they had to marry.
Say, Michael, I have a problem. I am so unfamiliar with the topic that you're going over. It's just so hard to keep up. Can you just let me see this quote again here? What is it? I'd be talking with people. Is this what you're talking about? Mm-hmm. I'd be talking with people and they'd invite me out for a drink. I'd be thinking, does this person really like me? Or are they just screwing with me because I'm Bruce Lee's son? And this was an interview. Okay.
Mm-hmm. This is an interview. Sorry, I lost my voice again.
No. That's totally understandable.
Yeah, how to fit everything together. You see that I have to come up with the conclusion that everybody sees my point, and I don't want to do that because I just want to interrupt.
Sometimes it goes too fast and I miss it.
Yeah.
That's all.
So even Linda Lee says about when she introduced Bruce to the thing that to the fact that she was pregnant, she answered, Bruce was happy, he wanted a child, that was very important to him, this child would be his. I pressed, was he overjoyed? Yeah, she replied. I thought to myself, so he actually was a good actor. So everybody is an actor, so whom to believe? I know whom to believe. Yeah, I believe in this circumstance here.
Mm-hmm.
That they make a joke actually about
Sure.
about the Crow, because that movie depicts somebody who has been reborn.
Ah, yes. That's the initiate's viewpoint.
The Crow is a 1994 American supernatural superhero film directed by Alex Proyas from a screenplay based on the limited series. The film stars blah blah blah, a musician who is resurrected. What do you need more? Yeah, so a crow is a mythical bird. Yeah.
A musician who is resurrected.
Yes. From the death to seek vengeance against the gang who murdered him and his fiancée, all the while being pursued by a sympathetic police officer. The production was struck by tragedy when Lee fatally wounded by a prop gun during filming. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
maybe
you're supposed to believe it. Yeah,
you have to believe it. Yes, of course.
Yeah, you have to believe it. Yeah. So this is another ritual.
I suppose so. Yes.
Wow.
And it gets worse. It gets really worse. You see that in the case of Sharon Tate, she was being mentioned together with having dinner with Robert Kennedy.
Okay.
Yeah. So we know, or we can at least suppose, that Sharon Tate did not die. The hangman does not mean death. It means rebirth. We can assume that Jay Sebring did not die. The hangman does not mean death. It means rebirth. Abigail Folger drives a Pontiac Firebird, which is a phoenix. Yeah, so we can suppose that she did not die, because the phoenix is resurrection. Brandon Lee is playing the Crow, a musician who's been resurrected and having a t-shirt on his t-shirt when he was accidentally shot dead, called the Hangman's Joke, and he was driving a hearse, and he's the son of Bruce Lee, who is into Jewish and Freemasonry, and he's making a movie in Hollywood. So what am I supposed to believe?
Well, certainly don't believe them.
It started with Sharon Tate, actually. That was the key, which set me into my mind. And I said, all the things that I found unbelievable in the beginning turned out to be the most believable, plausible outcome in the end. Because too much coincidences, Michael Messi, 33, and all this stuff, it does not make sense other than it is a ritual.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
And maybe somebody says, I'm fed up with being the son of Bruce Lee. I want to have my own. I want to marry my fiancé. I want to have children. I want to have my own space. Like Sharon Tate. She was pregnant, remember? If that is correct.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. So you see these Jesuit ties everywhere, where Brother Gregory announcing Bruce Lee the honorable guest at the beginning of the ceremony in 1973 by the Jesuits. And we have so much distraction here, and I think, okay, they have been introduced or inspired by a wrong spirit. And just out of sheer joy, I thought, okay, let's look up what's up with Ghost and Japan and in China. And I came up with the band Japan. And I said, Ghost, I found that really strange song when it came out, but I liked it. Do you know that song, Japan? Ghost?
No.
You don't have to, but look at the picture here.
Is that Chiang Kai-shek?
No.
Or who?
Mao Zedong.
Mao Zedong. Okay.
Yeah.
I get them mixed up.
No problem. And now you should start to worry.
Yeah. Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Because not only that Mao Zedong is a Jesuit, but what is he? What was his official position? You know that, Brad.
Emperor?
Yes, but where?
China.
Yeah. And what does the cover say? Here, above Mao Zedong.
Japan.
Yes.
Japan. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
So you
That's
must.
the name of the band, right?
That's the name of the band.
Okay. Well.
And you start to question that you have been fooled once again. Because why would a band called Japan stick a poster of a Jesuit-controlled leader of China when the band is called Japan? So
you're ahead of me, Mike.
It's always you have to look at all these details.
Yes.
Yeah. It has nothing to do with Bruce Lee at the moment, yeah. Other than the big seer Mao Zedong, yeah. But I was remembered of all these people who are in the Antichrist spirit, and this is the chorus of Japan and Ghost. Just when I think I'm winning, when I've broken every door, the ghosts of my life blow wilder than before. Just when I thought I could not be stopped, when my chance came to be king, the ghosts of my life blew wilder than the wind. Which means that it's not important what your motive is. It's not important how much money you got. Yeah, there's always something on top, and this is the ghost of my life. Yeah, so it's not you to decide who's on top. There is always some other in the hierarchy above you. This is Ghosts, Japan. But let's get back to Bruce Lee and Brandon Lee. I was triggered by that picture here, when they have depicted Bruce Lee as a paper-thin puppet in Saint-François Xavier Jesuit School in Hong Kong. Yeah?
Yes.
So
Yes.
What this depicts actually is that Bruce Lee was only a puppet from the Jesuits. Of course, in the exoteric will say, yeah, so what? He was a student of the college. Yeah, sure. You can honor somebody else with, but just sitting there waiting for instructions, right? He's a puppet of the Jesuits. Come on, Brother Gregory, he advised him how to box.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah, and he was not going to San Francisco because of a triad threat. He was going to San Francisco because he ought to have claim this American citizenship. Come on. Mm-hmm. What does Jesuitism actually mean? It means the arts, principle, and practices of the Jesuits: deceit, hypocrisy, prevarication, deceptive practices to effect a purpose. That's the official explanation in the American dictionary.
Cunning. Yes.
Yes.
No, they're very, very, very slick.
Yes.
They are.
Yeah. But this is the official explanation in American Dictionary of the English Language. 200 years ago.
Kind of like the serpent is pretty slick too, huh?
Mm-hmm. Webster's Third New International Dictionary, 1986, means Jesuitical, having qualities though to resemble those of a Jesuit, to act or to teach in the actual ascribed manner of a Jesuit, to indoctrinate with actual or ascribed Jesuit principles.
Mm-hmm. Right.
As the principles of mental reservation, casuistry, and equivocation.
Oh, this reminds me of something that sadly is hilarious to me. I have a number of encyclopedias, Michael, back in the day when I first really started taking a serious look at Jesuitism. I wanted to get many different opinions, and I found those in history written in encyclopedias. So, of course, I wanted to have several encyclopedias available that I could study. And one of them that I have is from the American Scientific American, excuse me. And it's an encyclopedia from that institution, Scientific American. And it was, I think, dated early 1900s. And I have one of the volumes here. And if you look up Jesuit in the volume and you read what Jesuit has, the definition from Scientific American is that Jesuits are only men, no women.
Mm-hmm.
What a lie. What a huge, blatant lie. And that article is full of it. Full of lies.
Yeah.
Just full of it. And that's Scientific American. I mean, this is indoctrination to the nth degree.
Yeah. And we will take on 2 more steps from now.
I mean, look at when you're young and you look to the encyclopedia, you look for you think you're reading the truth. And then you swallow the lie and you live with it your whole life. Look, it really can be that bad.
It was at this point of research that I thought, okay, what else? Because it's just not a matter of knowledge. It is not science. It is not wisdom. It is just whom do you believe? So many people who are fans of Bruce Lee and Brandon Lee will believe that it was an accident happened on the set because there was a family curse. And I'm okay with that. It's just your belief. But everything is belief because we know so little. We only know that God's word is everlasting. And that's the only thing that why I would like to go more into the Bible-related topics than in all this BS here. It's just, for me, it's just BS. These are just worldly idols, and that's what it is. And that's also was the thing that started.
This Jesuitry. Jesuitry principles or practices ascribed by or to the Jesuits as the practice of mental reservation, casuistry, and equivocation. Bam, bam, bam. The truth hurts. But this world is full of mental reservation, casuistry, and equivocation. Just full of it. I mean, could you get more, Michael?
You have not seen the end of that. When we were starting the conspiracy series about John F. Kennedy and, of course, the background of the Roman Catholic Church, which is obviously portrayed everywhere, it's not that hard to come to the fact, but nobody is mentioning that, of course, because they fear of, what else? Yeah? So of poverty and losing jobs and maybe getting killed or what else. But I said, who's the killer is not that important. More important is why Mr. John F. Kennedy had been killed on the 22nd of November 1963. It's the agenda behind which struck me in the case of Bruce Lee when I found out the stuff of Sharon Tate. At least the view that I anticipate, that I believe in, that she was not murdered. So to sum it up, it's a big agenda going on, and the agenda of Sharon Tate, and as well as Bruce Lee and Muhammad Ali and all the people surrounded in the end of the 60s, has to do with the Vietnam War, and the Vietnam War has to do with the religious war. So it's all religion behind it, and it's just the church who is just controlling the state. There is no free land, land of the free, home of the brave, to serve and protect and blah, 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 blah. This is just indoctrination. So it's the agenda behind which I wanted to let you know, and my thoughts of that. Because we have the word, at least from one professional liar, which is called E. Howard Hunt. And he says of the Guatemala War in the 1950s, he says, we have gotten the okay from Cardinal Spellman to go ahead with that, and I wouldn't presume to trace the lines of authority within the Catholic Church, how they get their information they deal with. We've always said in an admiring way that the Jesuits form the greatest intelligence service in the world and always have. That means controlling the CIA, controlling the MI6, controlling the triads. So the connection to Bruce Lee's death in 1973 can only be superseded by the Jesuits. And then you see that the Jesuits have been introduced Bruce Lee. He's also got a memorial there in the Saint Francois Xavier in Hong Kong. So that was just a toy of the Jesuits. And he was at least Jewish and at least ties to Freemasonry. That's the least bit. And then you then see these strange circumstances about the crow with Mr. Lee. And he was killed with a 44, which is the mass of the phoenix in Crowley. You see that I don't know where to start. I don't know where to start. I think that we have been set up. Even people who are just trying to look behind the scenes are being set up, because you cannot imagine the deception. I don't know if that is authentic. Maybe that was dictated to him by anybody whom he trusted. You see, the one who has pushed him to boxing was Brother Gregory. So really, you see that these are Jesuitical symbols all around the world for self-enlightenment and all this thing. Yeah, you see a 666 statue here and all the stuff. So he's the father of lies. And as both Back to the Future predicts 9/11, other things predicted things too. This is 2001 from the moon landing. And this can also be interpreted as a movie reel.
Yeah, that's right. Or an audio tape.
Yeah, so it's all BS. It's all BS. Yeah, Bruce Lee did not study philosophy as a major. He studied drama as a major. I did not know that until lately. He was an actor.
Yeah, that's right.
He studied drama as a major. And then he was trained by the Jesuits. So maybe, what if his definite chief aim is a forgery? What if the drug letters are a forgery? What if his death is a forgery? Whom to believe anyway in the world of Hollywood? Whom to believe? I'm sick of this. I'm sorry. I'm really sick of this. I'm being betrayed and lied all my life. These are all actors and directors.
Right.
These are all in a brotherhood. And these are just liars. Yeah, the exoteric, he's been worshipped as an idol, and the esoteric means that he's just a puppet in the Jesuits.
Yep.
And you have it all over the place. I found the Indish goddess Nataraya, which is, nobody tells you on the outside, it's a form of Shiva. Yeah, and this Shiva is being called the Lord of Dancers or King of Actors. And guess where? In the G20 summit in India running. Yeah, so all your politicians also are actors.
Of course.
What shall I tell you? We know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false, because I know nothing. So, my question to you is, Sharon Tate, in my humble opinion, was alive. Jay Sebring, in my humble opinion, was alive. Abigail Folger was alive. Wojciech Wilkowski was alive. Brandon Lee, you make up your mind. What about Robert Kennedy? Did you see any blood? Did you see any blood?
Michael, I think that they very, very likely, like in the case of Brandon Lee that you just pointed out, He's more or less just mocking this thing.
Yes.
Oh, ha, 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 ha. Isn't that funny? I think I'll drive a hearse around. Ha, 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 ha.
Yeah, exactly.
And it really is a joke.
Yes, it's a joke. You see that I came across that fact when I did the German study together with Jörg and Stephanie on the case of Kennedy and Lee Harvey Oswald when he was murdered. So then everybody knows that picture, and I just want to try to sum it up in 2 minutes here. Everybody knows that picture. You don't see any flesh, you don't see any blood splatter whatsoever. Nobody else has been hit. Yeah, so that is a total fabrication. And in my humble opinion, as far as I'm concerned, yeah, it's the same thing going on with Robert Kennedy. And if I'm I'm so sad about all these lies now. If Mr. Bobby Kennedy was not murdered, but it was just a ritual to get him away from the broad public and to install a kind of a Kennedy curse, yeah, which also has been very famous like the Bruce Lee curse, then what does that tell you about his son, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is against vaccination? What does that tell you about Robert Kennedy Jr.?
Controlled opposition.
Controlled opposition, yes. And we are very close to the end, I can promise you. We are very close to the end. Yeah. Now you see here that famous Zapruder movie where we get spoil so many sessions for this Zapruder movie, which everybody knows it's a forgery. I can tell you, I came across a researcher called Miles Matthews, and at the moment when I was first approached, I said, "Oh, it's hard to believe." But he tells me, "Okay, you see, these are all actors. This is faked," and he's got a prolific point on many things. And you see that I'm not convinced that Robert Kennedy was shot because I'm not convinced that Lee Harvey Oswald was shot. And I have to tell you the sad truth. I am not convinced that John F. Kennedy had been shot. That's one of the reasons why I withheld the last sessions, because I said I'm not convinced, because I know that everything is a movie. I know that Inter Mirifica was published by the papacy 2 weeks later, that they possess all the movies and all the stuff, and everything here is a forgery. So also the Red Lady in Red and everything is a forgery. This was a restricted area, and I have come across the research of Miles Matthews that he said that Kennedy did take a stop 2 or 3 times ago. So maybe they have replaced him. Maybe he was joking. Somebody was pushing tomato in his thing, because the frame Z313 you don't see the president clearly in the entire Dealey Plaza. So it is sufficient as if the entire world thinks that Kennedy has been shot. So no politician will ever get across the commandments of the Pope. You see, that is sufficient. You don't have to kill him, really. So that means also that Jackie Kennedy...
Yeah, that's a possibility, yeah.
It's also sufficient if everybody thinks that Bruce Lee had been murdered by the Triad, so that no stuntman ever will take another hint. I can't prove it. But in the case of Robert F. Kennedy, I am not quite sure. And if you question this, you have to question everything. Everything can be set up, and it's not worth to spend hours and hours and years of research. I could really slap my own ass. Yeah, and I give you one example of that, why I thought, and this is the thing that we all have overlooked, and it is not Anthony Fauci here. Yeah, he's just a low level, yeah, and it's not Cermit 666 and all the stuff. Yeah, I give you one example which came across my mind, and I said, yes, that's it. Yeah, they are not lying you. Yeah, so somebody died in somebody's house. Yeah, so maybe you don't know if he's a Freemason too. I have not got into this. Yeah, you see, this is a dynamic duo, Aleister Crowley and JC. And JC has been connected to another rapper. He's called Sway. And Sway has been put a head on by President Obama. And Jackie Chan is here in that famous scene where he said, Bruce Lee, yes, he died just in somebody's house. My boss picked him up. But on that video frame, you could only see Jackie Chan. But now I came across the origin of that video, and that is from that session here, from that station here. It's called Sirius XM. And I said, come on. Now I'm really totally fed up. Because Sirius of course, is the star in the Egyptian pagan mystery. Yeah, Sirius is being called the star of Osiris, so Freemason once again. Yeah, it's not only black and red here and that robe that she has. Yeah, but they have a station called Sirius, and Osiris was the judge and lord of the dead and the underworld, so the lord of silence. Huh?
You know that Sirius XM is satellite radio, don't you?
Yes, I have looked that up, but the problem is that rapper is also affiliated with Jay-Z, and Jay-Z is Aleister Crowley, do what thou wilt, so they're all Satanists, and they are running a station there which is called Sirius, which is clearly depicting the star, which clearly is connected to Freemasonry and Osiris. That's my thing.
Oh, so it's Sway? This is his show?
Yes, that is the show. And it gets worse. It gets worse because he was introduced to that show at and when he talked about Bruce Lee, that was about 1 minute ago or so. Look at the clock. The clock is on 11 hours and 12 minutes. I said that can't be.
Yeah.
They are trying to fool me, but I'm not willing to be fooled and to be blind again. She's wearing satanic colors. Yeah, he's also in the industry, big time. They are running a Freemason show here. And the clock when he told about Bruce Lee is close to 11:11, which would then be 4 times 1, which would then be, of course, a reminiscence to the Freemasonry. So I don't think they are all coincidences. You are free to believe what you want to believe. Yeah, the observation of the helical rising on Sirius. The star was considered the bringer of the unbearable summer heat, which his rise was considered an evil omen. Yeah, so in that show, you call that satellite station. But that's also not the big hint. The big hint comes now. The big hint is it's always Freemasonry on the outside. When you are looking inside, on the outside of the inside, it's Freemasonry. You see that with the pyramid and the one eye of the dollar bill, and you see it by Freemasons, of course. Sirius, Eye in the Sky, Alan Parsons Project. Do you need to know more? Lucifer Rising. What do they show you? An Ankh. This is Isis. She's showing the Ankh. Bare-breasted, of course, fertility. Yeah. When Isis is wearing the Ankh, that means she's the goddess of life and death. And even in Lucifer Rising, they have depicted UFOs, and maybe that's also another term in the near future. But I'm sick of all the stuff because you see that it's the same as Lucifer Rising. The Ankh is a symbol of Lucifer. Can you imagine? So easy it is. Yeah. Somebody says also these two are related. Yeah, so they are not a couple. Maybe she's engaged to that other actor in Italy. I don't know where that child is from, but she wanted out. Yes, she wanted out. Yeah, she wanted to have her privacy back, maybe like Brandon Lee. And now I'll show you. This is the Bruce Lee Jay Sebring connection book. I can't get hold of it because it's booked out, but that's not a big thing. I don't think that is something revealing in here, other than he was a handler. The big hint is the Jesuitical oath. And in the Jesuitical oath, they say they can do everything. They can even poison people. They can even slash the stomachs of pregnant women and all this stuff. But you see, the Jesuits are running the world. And maybe we can do that some other times because I just want to show you something. The something is the Knight of Columbus oath, which is the same oath as the Knights of the Knights of the Jesuits, of the Societies Jesu. That means that the purpose of John F. Kennedy was to make war in Vietnam. And officially, he did not want to do that. Yeah, because the oath means that all heretics can be slain and to be killed. Yeah, so your Kennedy is not the Kennedy that it's been presented. Your Kennedy is a supreme knight of the Knight of Columbus. And if I remember correctly, he was at the supreme top. And this is the mourning of Kennedy after his so-called death, that the members of the Knight of Columbus are overwhelmed with grief at the loss occasioned by the assassination of Kennedy. But that's on the outside. What if everything is a movie, like in a Zapruder movie, that he did not kiss the ring on purpose, but he played just a martyr.
Another actor, yes.
A martyr, an actor, yeah, so that the entire family Kennedy can be seen as saviors, as a Jesus Christ-like politician.
Yes. Right.
And I'm fed of it. You see that he has a Jesuitical Bible he has been sworn on. He is a Jesuit from the beginning. And he's a Knight of Columbus, which makes the entire thing worse. So you see that on the outside you can sell him to the public as a betrayer, yeah. But it can also be that this is all been staged. The entire world is a stage. Yeah. So I justum neca reges impios can mean it is just to annihilate impious rulers, but maybe he wasn't killed at all. Problem is that in entire Dealey Plaza, out of a sudden, you don't see any official CBS, CNN, ABC, no cameras, no good material. And so maybe that wasn't Kennedy who was been shot, or nobody was shot, and it was just a fabrication. It was just the orange color in his head. It search its frame C313 is very strange. Yeah, special bullet. Yeah, sure. But you see that the Vatican.
And you could say, Michael, and I just thought of this now, order out of chaos. They just created a bunch of chaos there, let off some fireworks or whatever. Who knows?
Who knows?
We weren't there. We didn't witness it.
It does not make any sense to go very deep into this, because they can lie at every stage to you. They can lie at every. You see that Bruce Lee starts with his name, Bruce. Yeah, it's Scottish.
Right.
Yeah.
Because Jesuitry is the principles of the Jesuits. It has nothing to do with being a man or a woman. It has everything to do with your, what can we say? What you say. Is it true or is it false?
I have a big hint. I have a really big hint. The first big hint is Inter Mirifica, that on the 4th of December 1963, long before Bruce Lee was having any movies, the church, the Roman Catholic Church, says that they own the media. That's the big hint. And the next one is even bigger. I found a letter where he wrote underneath, "Till then, my dearest wife, with love from China, James Bond." So maybe he was initiated then. Maybe he was a Jesuitical agent, because he wanted to have 10 millions at his disposal at every cost. And his definite chief aim is Isaiah 14:12. And so I think that he was set up by the Jesuits to become the first Oriental superstar. That's my belief at the moment. I can't prove it, of course. I wasn't there. But that is my belief. But I have one big proof. And the big proof comes from that book. And this is the closing of every session. And I won't go into this subject and similar subjects nowhere near. This comes from the Engineer Corps of Hell. Of course, everything can be faked. But this is the quote that we found in that book and many other books. Please read it, Brad.
See, sir, from this chamber I govern not only Paris but China, not only China but to all the world, without anyone knowing how I do it.
From Michelangelo Tamburini. So if that quote is correct, it's authentic, then everybody please have a listen now. That means, see, sir, from this chamber I control not only the Chinese movie industry, but the movie industry and the industry all around the world, without anyone knowing how to do it. And this includes all controlled opposition. That means I question the death of Sharon Tate. I question, you won't believe it, the death of Jay Sebring. I question the death of Wojciech Furkowski. Oh, sorry if I did not pronounce it correct. I question the death of Jay Sebring. I question the death of Brandon Lee. I have to question the death of Bruce Lee. There are so many things which do not line up. Maybe he had a brain tumor, what else? Nobody knows for sure, but at least he was a Jesuitical agent. I question the death of Robert Kennedy. I question the death of John F. Kennedy. I question the death of Marilyn Monroe. I question the death, if you believe it or not, of Abraham Lincoln. Why? Because of that quote. Because that quote, if that is correct, means that he is governing everything. And John F. Kennedy, as well as Abraham Lincoln, would not get elected president unless he would have the approval of the general of the Jesuits. And if the United States have been founded officially exoteric on the Freemasons, then they have been founded really esoterically and really in reality by the Jesuits. So they are running the show from the beginning. So why should they have allowed somebody who's been a threat to them? So maybe they are all actors, just acting. Like in the G20 summit with this king of actors there, this statue, this Hindu statue, I don't care. But I don't think that it's worth the time to go into every actor, into every singer, into everything, because if I believe this testimony here from the 18th century, that the Jesuits are ruling the entire world even then, they have set up the French Revolution, they have set up the United States, they have set up World War I, they have set up World War II, they have set up everything, including John F. Kennedy and Mr. Abraham Lincoln, Mr. Robert F. Kennedy, Mr. Bruce Lee and Mr. Brandon Lee and Mr. J. Sebring, Sharon Tate. I don't care, because either you quote this and believe it to be correct, or you don't quote it and you have a lifelong of timeless energy wasting on all this materialistic secular stuff, and I'm totally sick of this. That's my 2 cents on it. We can go endlessly in all the stuff, but either you believe this quote or you don't. And if you believe this quote, you have to believe that they also are governing the controlled opposition. So they are governing Kennedy. And Kennedy did not obey because he was acting as if he did not obey. That is at least one big, strong possibility. And don't blame me. That must be the logical conclusion of all the stuff, yeah, when you go all into this Lee Harvey Oswald and Zapruder movie and everything is fake. When everything is faked, why should the death of an American president be then authentic? Tell me one reason. Why should somebody really put people in danger in a car? When you could get rid of Mr. Kennedy any other way if he was such a threat. Yeah, it's the same with Robert Kennedy. Why shoot him in the kitchen? You could have poisoned him. So I don't know whom to believe other than the God that I'm talking to when I'm praying. It makes no sense. I don't know if Malachi Martin or here 50 years in the Church of Rome, Charles Manson, I don't know if they are really reborn Christians. I don't want to have any wrong judgment about somebody, but I can't know, because only God knows in the end. Only God can see in the heart, and we can't do that, so we can't do any more research. I'm sorry, but you don't have to do your own research. I'm not doing it anymore, because I'm not only fed up with it, but I don't believe anybody but the only solution which there is, which is true, that is the Almighty Lord. I'm sorry, but I can't do any more research. Yeah, Chiniki knows all our secrets. Maybe Chiniki also is a double agent. Who knows? I don't know. And I don't care anymore, because the only thing which is really important is the Bible in John 14:6, that Jesus Christ is the way and the truth and the life, and no one gets to the Father but by him. And this is all BS. Everything else is just simply wasting time.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but this is really it. You see that where to start in all this BS. Yeah? Where to start in all the BS? I really thought that and in the beginning it would be very fruitful to go into American history and all the stuff, but when I see that the Jesuits are running the show for almost 300 years, yeah, so what's the deal in it? What's the deal in it? I don't know.
Well,
you see, these are all actors. You see, he does not realize that there are Freemasons here and that he is without any protection in the theater. It's in the theater. Oh, come on. In the Ford Theater, Freemason. And you see, sorry, but where to start? Yeah? Maybe we have looked at from the wrong deceptive angle. I'm sorry, Brett, I did not want to.
That's fine. No, but you know that that this country, the United States of America, was established as a Freemasonic place. I
Yes,
mean, it's
on the outside,
yeah, right. I mean, it's admitted to, it's just that the people don't want to believe it, so they ignore it, They'd rather not look at it, so they ignore it. And, the problem with ignorance, problem with ignorance is it's the exact opposite of what you think it is. You think ignorance is bliss? I got some bad news for you. Really bad news for you.
I'm so sorry. I have to tell that I needed 37 sessions on Bruce Lee to get to the final nitty-gritty that you can't trust anybody, because we are living here in a world full of politicians, full of liars everywhere, and full of movies. Whom to believe in this? You see that they are making their money and their fame and fortune in telling lies. That's their profession. These are professional liars. So I don't know, but can only put you to the thing that this is called The Man, and he has, some Freemason ties by his Greek Letter Society. I give him this, Miles Matthews. But many of his clues, he does not get into the Jesuits or anything else, but many of his clues actually does make sense. He was the first one who pointed out that I found that the Sharon Tate incident was a total fraud. And then many things make sense. If his conclusion about Bruce Lee, that he was gay and Jewish, makes sense, I do not know, and I would not tell this, but I don't care. But in the case of Brandon Lee, shot by a 44, in Hangman's Joke, and where to start in all the mess?
Courts and everything, why do they use the Latin language? Because they don't want you to understand what's really going on here. You have to be initiated to understand.
Yeah, but
they have to hide everything, Michael. They can't be out in the open with their secrets.
I can't recommend anybody, and I have just read a few pages of Miles Matthews.
No one can give you the truth. You have to find it for yourself. And guard it and protect it.
We talked about this quote in our China series, and I was remembered on this quote this afternoon. I said, "Oh my, that's the answer. Of course, I have overlooked it. He has too much information. Yeah, I have overlooked it. But if you believe that quote to be correct, then it means also the opposition is being controlled, and so there is no example on Kennedy or what else needed, because they control the media anyway." So they could have gotten rid of him, and then make a movie about it or what else. They could have fabricated everything because the media is controlled. But if you believe that the mass media is controlled, why do you see a white van of a television set or what else on the set and no official cameras? Because it was not needed. They wanted to make a cheap movie of Zapruder and all the stuff and to draw the people astray. It is just all a setup. Dealey Plaza is a total fabrication. It's just a Hollywood movie with a Super 8 camera or what it was. It's just BS. I'm sorry that I really took so much time to go to this, but now I'm totally convinced that I don't have to believe anybody. Don't switch on your television. Don't switch on your radio. Read the Bible, and then you see that don't worry about all the stuff outside, because at the end you won't own anything and will be happy. And you know when that is? That will be in the next life, in the real resurrection, in the real reborn Christian. Then you will own nothing and be happy. But I can't imagine myself being happy in this rotten world here with all the liars and murders. That's my point. You can't have it both ways. If you believe that quote, then that means that also Kennedy and Dealey Plaza and everything is controlled. And French Revolution, World Wars, everything is controlled. Everything is just a script, and they are just going according to the Bible, Then for certainty that poverty will come, that earthquakes will come, epidemics will come. Because that's a script. That's a script. And maybe that is exaggerated here in the 18th century. I don't know. But I know that Kennedy was more than 200 years later. And I have a hard time imagining that out of a sudden John F. Kennedy and Robert Kennedy, they said, "Oh yeah, brother, let's do it on our own. Let's have world peace." Yeah, out of a sudden. When his speeches has been transcribed by Jesuits. I'm through with that all, you see?
Mm-hmm.
He did not write his speeches. His speeches were written and controlled by Jesuits as well. We have talked about that in the series. So, in the end, Brett and Stephanie and everybody who's listening out there, I don't believe anybody who's just playing an important role in this world because they only have that important role in the world because they are just followers of the so-called God of this world, which is the father of lies and murder. So I don't have to listen to anybody important person or actor or director or what else. Because I know that he's only got his job because of he's just in disobedience with the real God and his real commandments. Because his real commandments say that thou shalt not bear false witness. And what does an actor do? What does a director of a movie do? What does a politician do? They are all lying. So I know that they are lying. I don't want to expose everything, and I'm keeping myself busy and I have a nervous breakdown somewhere. It does not help anybody, but I can only give you one advice. Stop researching all the stuff out there and just believe that you are a divine created being in the image of God. And then you don't need any medicine and only don't need any advice. And especially the biggest hint that I can give you advice is don't be concerned. Because God is always controlling everything. And if you really believe in God and His only begotten Son, then you see that you don't have to worry anything because we only can look forward to the next life. But in this life, it is just suffering. That's it. Brett, I'm lost for words.
Yeah, that's a really good way to sum it all up, Michael. You know, it says in Scripture that He's going to wear out the saints of the Most High. So, yeah, it's not a nice picture here on Earth, is it? It's surrounded by a real war going on. It's a war that started in heaven and is transpired to the earth. And, you know, we're all going to see it in one form or another. You can deny it if you want, but then that doesn't help you in the end. Ignorance is not bliss. We can say that all day long. It's the very principle by which this society, meaning the Jesuits, because that's really the society that runs everything, this society moves forward on that principle. It's called ignorance. All you have to do is just ignore it. And then it takes over. We see it over and over and over again. Sorry, but that's the truth. It's the way I see it. That's, I believe, what Michael's saying too. So, yeah, Michael, thank you for the research. Thank you for taking all the time, all of your precious time to bring this into focus. You know, it's really an ugly picture, isn't it? And I think that many of us know this, but the thing is, we can't be ignorant of Satan's devices. We're supposed to know what Satan's devices are. So I applaud Michael for that. I mean, this is not a fun job. This is not something that's very pleasant. But it's something that's necessary in order to enable us to see through the deception, to know that we've been deceived. Because, Michael, I've been deceived, period. Period. There's, you know, countless numbers of people that have come up with these types of arguments and have put forward false witness over and over and over and over and over again throughout history. And if you're like Michael and I and you're sick of it, well, then we welcome you to our series and a future series that we do on this channel. We're not really sure what we're going to do yet, but,
right.
You know, the Lord will provide.
Brett, you know that the moon landing is a total fabrication.
Absolutely.
You know that 9/11 is a total fabrication. You know that C-19 is a total fabrication. So what shall convince me that the other rituals, like the killing of the King Hiram Abiff, John F. Kennedy, and Sharon Tate, these are all rituals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I have spent years in the research of all the stuff and the connection together. And in the end, maybe that is the best outcome that we can get, that we don't have to spend, that maybe I have spent my time to save your time in the end. That you don't worry, and please, you can expect more positive content from us, because I'm sick of all the stuff. I'm really sick. I'm not in the best in shape at the moment.
You literally are. Yeah, this is really affecting your health. So yeah, it's really important to call it quits, and that's what we're doing. We're going to close the books on the satanic media, because we know it is so incredibly corrupt and so incredibly full of lies that is just no stopping it.
And
if you want to believe a lie, you just go right ahead, but do your own research, and you know, eventually you might come to see what Michael and I have seen, and it's not a pretty picture.
Yeah, and I think that's the best outcome to all, that we really can see that the people should read the Bible and understand the Bible and get a personal connection to your Savior, and not worry about anything, because these things have to happen before Jesus Christ can return. And I think that's the best thing that can happen everywhere. So don't be concerned, and just see the positive out of it. Don't be feared. Don't be worried about anything, because really see that the Bible is fulfilling itself, and that Jesus Christ will return. If I will see it, I don't know. And it's not that important. It's important that this life serves only one purpose: to get in touch with your personal Savior, Jesus Christ, to accept Him as the only sacrifice, and to have then eternal life together, really, finally, in peace and honesty and with everlasting love. That's the only thing which is worth living through this, my humble opinion, hell on earth. Please just take care of elderly people, take care of your children, take care of your animals, take care of your own health, and don't bother yourself with all the lies, because at the moment you switch on the papacy television, papacy broadcast, you'll be bombarded with lies. Thanks so much for assisting me, Brett, and that was an outcome which I would not have expected a few days and weeks ago. But I don't care who killed and who not killed anybody. You have to see the agenda. The agenda has been set, and nobody in the mass media, and Bruce Lee was a really big star, and Brandon Lee also was in Hollywood. It's all Hollywood productions. I won't trust anybody. And so for me, that case is closed. I know that they are all actors.
Yeah, they are. They're all actors. And it's one big, gigantic, what do you call this now? Procession. I had a dream about that a long time ago. I'll never forget it. It just, seeing all these people just completely possessed and in this procession, they just can't stop. And that's what this life seems to be, is like this mantra that people have to repeat over and over and over and over and over. I mean, C-19, there's a mantra for you. It's disgusting.
You have to free your mind. You see that it's really, you have to be in touch with the Holy Spirit, and you don't know anything. You're just being biased. In the case of Kennedy, in the case of this, you only have bias. You are either critical of the government, or you're loyal to the government, or what else. But you see, you have to you have to empty your mind and just be free.
Michael, this is something that I discovered with studying history, is there is no such thing as unbiased.
And that's the problem.
We're always going to have bias, no matter what. So you have to accept the fact that God created us in His image, did He not? So we're going to have flaws, because we're not God, period. We are flesh and blood. We have an expiration date. We do not live in the flesh forever. That's true. But in the spirit, it's up to God to decide what he's going to do. It's not our choice. It's his. So we have to put it in his hands and not try and control it in our own. We have to let go at some point. I think that's the important thing, is to have closure with it so you can move on. And that's kind of, Michael, I think that's where you're at, is you just want closure with this whole realm of the satanic media agenda. Is that correct?
It makes no sense. If you believe the Bible, you know that every person up in the hierarchy is serving Satan in this world. So it's the God of this world. So it makes no sense if either of you believe in the Bible or you don't believe in the Bible. If you believe in the Bible, you can have some examples, and we did so much sessions, but that's the end of it. You see that either you believe it or you're not, Either you believe in the Bible or not.
Like that picture you had early on in the series, and I think it was today's session. I can't remember if it was the first or the second, of the World Trade Center when it was freshly made. And they had this quote at the top that said, this is as close as some of us ever get to heaven, or something. I mean, that's the mindset. It's like, well, we can rise to the top, but in reality, you're going to the bottom, because you have to become a very large oppressor of men in order to have more. So you're oppressing the more you have in this life in terms of material possessions, the more you are oppressing your neighbors. I don't think people look at it that way, but that's the way I look at it, because God said that, we're all brethren. There is no hierarchy. Jesus said that. And I believe that Jesus is the image of God. So, yeah, Michael, it's a tough topic, and I'm glad to see the end of it too. Yeah, because it really stinks. It's really a smelly thing. Yeah, here we go. Rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe unto the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea. For the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth he hath but a short time. And with that, we'll close it down, and we'll see you next time. And don't forget to study and believe the words of God through the scripture, because that's all that matters. Amen.
Amen.